Greetings, quantitative researchers. I know you've been busy reading the main text for this course, Research Design. You've been learning about generating research hypotheses, establishing and measuring variables, choosing measures, and you're just starting to learn how to match particular research questions to different statistical analyses, such as descriptive methods, correlational research, or survey design. But I want to bring your attention to an important resource, the secondary text for this course. As you're preparing to write your lit review, or just generally as a future counselor educator, you'll be a consumer and producer of research, and you need to be an expert on academic writing. So our secondary text, Writing Empirical Research Reports. It's important to be an expert on academic writing for many reasons. You might have the best research idea ever, and significant results to report. But if it's not presented properly, you could lose your reader or lose credibility as a researcher. You need to be able to talk the research language the same as other professionals in the counseling field. Many of you are coming from years of clinical writing. This requires a shift in your thinking. This class is an opportunity to learn the research process. It's more important even than the topic that you choose for your paper. It's about learning the process and learning the language. So using this text, it is a reference book. Use it as a guide. To become an expert at anything, you have to practice. And as you're practicing, pull this book out. When it's time to write your lit review, pull this book out and reread the section that applies to the part of the paper that you're working on. Research reports have standard structure. Here are the main components of a research report. Remember that we're learning parts and pieces, and learning that will assist with knowing what goes where and how to say what. In learning the different parts, you can make quick guide references for the different sections as you're using the secondary text as a reference guide. So for example, when you're writing research hypotheses, this is covered in chapters 2 and 3, I just went through and I read all the do's and don'ts and started compiling a list. Now, this does not include everything that's in the text, but it's just to give you an example of how you can make these quick reference guides for the different sections of writing a research report. As you go to write your individual lit review, you can do something similar. That is what I did when I was working on this project last year. I actually remember writing the do's and don'ts from the secondary text as well as the APA manual on a Post-it note. I wish I had it to show you. So this is what I did. I wrote the do's and don'ts, and then I used that to further develop my outline for the individual lit review. So as you can see here, make this larger for you. So I had looked at my do's and don'ts list, and I compiled it, started to compile the outline for my individual lit review. I have some of the broader areas in terms of topic that I was covering, and then started to put some of those do's and don'ts as building the structure. So I have my importance of topic. I want to make sure we introduce any measures. The theory piece is important, and then towards the end of the lit review, you're going to have your research question or hypothesis. Down here I have note to self, and here's where I added some other of the do's and don'ts, making sure that as I'm writing the paper that I'm including the things that I need to include or not include. Even if you're familiar with writing lit reviews, it's still helpful to review the information just to refresh your memory. Then, as I progressed with this project and worked with my group on the rest of the proposal, you can see how the outline expanded, and we worked together to include the do's and don'ts from our quick reference list. So here you can see that our topic has become more narrow, and we have instead of 5 or 6 areas of interest, we have our variables more clearly defined. up at the top, you can see this is the introduction and lit review section. And so I have all these bullet points to make sure I'm including everything that I need based on what I've pulled from the text and what needs to be included in a lit review. So again, including theory is important, and then stating the research question. And you'll want to reference the chapter in the book about how to write research questions. And I would also suggest looking at the examples and thinking about, well, how does my research question or my area of interest with this topic, how could I write the research question to use those as a model or guide for writing yours? And then here you can see, since we're not just doing the lit review for the group project proposal, we have the methods section. We go in to include our measures. And then again, as a group, we have questions towards the bottom. So if you remember at residency, you were doing, what do we know? What do we want to know? And this is the same thing. We have our topic defined in our questions. So our what do we know is a lot more specific, and what do we want to know a lot more specific as well. And why is this important? And that's critical in terms of thinking about research and doing a research project. The why, what are we contributing to the literature? What's missing in the literature? You want to be able to explain that. So in sum, the Writing Empirical Research and Report is an excellent reference text. You can use it as you work on your research paper this semester. Thank you for listening, and please let Dr. Newmeyer or I know if you have any questions.